Hey everyone, welcome to a new executable blocks tutorial. In this case, I will explain you every feature of executable blocks. The same I did with executable items, the same I am going to do with executable events, well, with executable blocks. So, let's take a look. First of all, what you have to know is the command. It's easy. If we press space, we can check all the commands, or if we press enter, all the options. I will show you the most important ones. Because once you understand the basic of this plugin, you will understand most of the commands. Anyways, if you don't understand one of them, you can always take a look at the wiki. Okay, let's go here. I will delete this block. I will then show you how to do it. But you have this GUI where you have all your blocks. Since I already deleted the last one I had, we have no blocks. How to add them? Well, you have this button, new block. If you click it, a suggestion will be given how to create. Well, to create a new block, you need to enter create and the ID. The ID of the block is just a name, like it's actually an ID that represents the block. In this case, it will be tutorial. Well, once you create the app, this GUI will be displayed. The first feature, I will explain it at the last moment of this GUI, because once I explained you all here, you will understand this very easily. Well, so the first one is the material. Once you create the app, you have an idea in your mind. For example, creating a barrel that sells all the stuff inside, creating a diamond block. When you right click, an info is printed to the player. I don't know, you have the idea, you have the block that you want. Well, that is what you have to put here. If you want it to be a diamond block, well, diamond block. If you want it to be a barrel, well, barrels, or in this case, redstone lamp. Well, you can scroll through this list with clicks or shift clicks, or the best one, if you're in creative, just type the middle click of the mouse and you can write the stuff you want. Well, you have the material, and on the bottom right, you will see how the block will, the player, how they will see it. This block is what it's given to the players when they break the app. So it's important for you to create what you want. For example, I don't want it to have default stuff, so let's change it. Next feature, custom name. This is the custom name. Now that is how it looks. The lore, I don't want that. Here you have all the lores that you have added to the block. For example, let's add more. Let's delete some of them. Let's edit one. This is the first line of lore. Let's delete this one. This is an epic block. And let's finish. Perfect. So we have those features ready. The next one is the custom model data. What is this? This is important to understand, and I will say it quickly. This is not custom textures for the block. This is not new blocks. This is not new textures of the block placed. Custom model data is for the item of the block. Okay? So what you have here is the redstone lamp. You can change how the item of the redstone lamp looks. Yes, you can. You can create custom redstone lamp item. For example, having a moon shard in the space, for example, in your hand. But if you place it down, it will be a redstone lamp. Okay, that is the use for the custom model data. If that agrees with something you would want to do, well, you have a tutorial on the wiki. If it doesn't, well, let's move on to the next feature. Usage, I will explain this as the last option. So title features. Well, what is title features? Let's place it manually first. So you see, sorry, I forgot. Once you are ready, press save, and then you can either shift and left click to delete or shift and right click to give it to yourself. In this case, I press shift and right click and the block is given. I can place it down, and if I break it, well, I get it back. Perfect. As you can see, it's a normal block. It doesn't look different than the others redstone lamp. But let's add a title features. Let's enable this, and this is my title. It's the same idea as the lore. You can add text. Let's finish. Save, and save. Well, now you have a title above it. For this to work, it needs holographic displays plugin, okay, or CMI. All this information is on the wiki. Okay, we can adjust the height of the titles here. For example, let's put this on 1, and now the height has increased. Well, that's it. Cancel gravity is for blocks that has gravity. For example, let's set this to false, and let's put the material of the block to sand. Well, I can place it and it falls. Perfect. But if we set cancel gravity to true and test, well, it will cancel the gravity as we want. Let's return to redstone lamp. For example, features like this are very easy to understand, so I may explain some of the features with words even instead of showing you examples, because the names are very easy to understand. For example, this one, container features. This works for blocks like chest, furnace, etc. This needs the ev to be that block. For example, if it's a chest, you can whitelist materials that can be placed down, or you can blacklist materials. For example, whitelist if you want a chest that can only store ores. So you add here on the whitelist materials all the ores. Or for example, a chest that can only store blocks. So you here blacklist everything that is not blocks. Is locked is a feature that you can lock chests if we set this to true with a certain name. How this works? Well, if you set it to true and you add as locked name, for example, key, the player will need to open the chest to have an item in their hand with the name of key. If the locked name is Wachiwa, well, the locked name means the player will need to hold an item with the name Wachiwa to open the chest. It may be useful for, I don't know, sort of adventure maps and stuff like that. And inventory title is literally this, container features editor. That is the name. For example, if we open a normal chest, you will see that the name is chest. Well, you can change that in this part. The next one is the same idea as before. It only works for containers. Well, it only works for furnace, and you can adjust the speed of the furnace, how long it takes this furnace to smelt the ores, to burn the food, etc. The Hopper features the same idea, it only works for hoppers, and you can adjust the amount of items the hoppers transfer. In the furnace, it's just a number where 1 is the default one. The higher the value, the higher the speed. And the same here, the amount of times transferred. 1. Okay, perfect. The feature can be moved is if the block can be moved by pistons, for example. If you have a special beacon somewhere in the world where people can break complex blocks except this beacon, and you want this to the players not to grief it, well, you should enable this, otherwise the players will be able to move it with pistons, with the slime pistons, etc. Now this part. If you want the block to only be breakable with specific executable items, well, you can add the executable items itself here. May be useful if you have a special OR, for example, and you have executable items called the I don't know, special pixels that can only break the special OR. Well, drop block if it's broken. If you disable this, well, I don't know, maybe you have a disease block that makes damage to the players above it, and you don't want this to be picked by the players. So you disable the drop. The drop block if it explodes and if it burns. The drop type, well, for example, right now, if we break it, the block is given to my inventory, as you can see, 12, 13, 14. But if we set the drop type to on the ground, well, once we break it, the drop type will be on the ground. And the last one is reset internal data when broken. Well, this means the usage, the thing I didn't explain yet, but you will understand later, and variables will be restored like it doesn't exist. Perfect. And the last one, variables, that I will not explain yet because I need to explain first what is here. But remember, we haven't explained usage, variables, and activators, because before it, I will explain the creation type. Basically, what we have explained is the visual part of the block, for example, the titles, the chest, furnace, what happens if it's drop, how is it drop, the name, lore, etc. The creation type is how the executable block is created. A basic creation, well, is from a block with no specific feature. If we set it to display creation, you can see it doesn't have any more furnace, hopper, and chest features. It has all the rest are the same. But we have here display features. As you can see in the last versions of Minecraft, the display stuff has been added, where you can, for example, show models, show items, show stuff from the block, and have custom heights, custom hitboxes, etc. If you know about this, you will understand every feature here. And if you don't, well, it is not necessary. As I said, the normal one is the basic creation. But if you're interested in display, well, here's your place. And if you want to import an item into executable blocks, for example, executable blocks that also is executable items. So, for example, I will just give you an idea. A diamond block, when it's placed down, well, it has some ability. For example, it gives regeneration around. But if you break it and it is an item now, well, that will be an executable item that will give regeneration to the player. That's what I just said. The regeneration effect when placed down, and if it's on the inventory, well, the place it down needs executable blocks, and if it's on the inventory, needs executable items. You can also import from items other and import from other action. It's the same idea. Once you do it, I don't have the plugins installed, so I can't select those options. But if we select, for example, from items other, well, the material here will be the ID available from items other. And the action, the same idea, the executable items, the same idea. It's very easy to understand. So now this GUI is done. Remember, we have an explained usage and variable. Let's move on to activators, where the hard part starts. Let's go here. You have all the activators. Remember, we are on premium version, so we can have as many activators as we would like. Let's create an activator, and a new GUI is displayed. Well, this is the activator name. It is not necessary to change. I commonly don't change it. But if you're new to the plugin and you want to have the things organized, you can change it. For example, activator that sends a message to the player. So once I press on save and you have all the activators, you can take a look here and you will know what it does. Anyways, this is the name. It is not for useful stuff. It's only for example, admins that wants to take a look at the block. Well, this may be useful. The next one is the option. I will explain this as the last. I will explain this all the rest before. So better I will explain an idea of the option. Then I will explain you what they do. Yeah, that would be a better option. Okay. So this is the activator. What is an activator? Well, once you create the block, you want it to have a certain feature, or you create it with certain objective. For example, a block that when clicked, it prints a name. A block that when placed down gives regeneration around. A block that when gets broken, it gets placed again. I don't know, blocks that are broken, now they are bedrock, and after some time they are the block again, etc. All the things I have said have an activator related. For example, when you click on the block and a message is printed, well, the activator is the click when the player clicks the block. And activate the function of giving around regeneration is something that repeats constantly. So it's a loop activator. An activator that gets triggered when the player breaks the block, well, player break activator. This is what we have here. How the commands, how the whole thing, the whole stuff that you want to do will be triggered. For example, the first option is player alt click on. That means if you either press left click or right click, well, the activator will get triggered. Player break. If the player breaks the app block, well, this will be triggered. If the player on the block, it's on the block, file on the block, and press right click on, scroll down with the scroll of the mouse. If the player sprints, if a projectile hits the block. Anyways, you have many things. That is up to your purpose. I will explain some ideas maybe once we explain everything, every feature of this as the last part of the tutorial. The same I did with executable items, where I explained some easy items. But this is the option, is how you want everything to get triggered. The cooldown, actually, before explaining all the rest, I want you to understand the option. So I will skip this for now, and I will come here, where you have blockCommands, playerCommands, and ownerCommands. Depending on the stuff you want to do, for example, this doesn't have ownerCommands. This, yes, some stuff will not have ownerCommands. Or for example, playerCommands. That is normal. But for example, this one have the three ones. Block commands are the commands that are executed the block. Let's go here. Block commands. You have all these commands. You can move here, etc. What can we do? Okay. Let's say the idea is to send a message to the player. So sending a message to the player is related to the block, or to the player, or to the owner. In this case, I don't want the message to be sent to the owner. I want it to be sent to the player. By the way, the owner is the one that placed the block. But if, for example, a person, the letter A person, placed the block, and me, B person, right-click the block, I want the message to get sent to me, the B person. I don't want A person to get the message. So no, I don't want the command in ownerCommands. I want it on playerCommands. What do I want? I want to send a message. Well, let's see if there is a command for that. We have many commands, but we want send message. If we click it, we will see send message. Let's see. You have clicked the block. I press enter and we have this. Let's press on finish. And now you see it's on playerCommands. Let's save, back and save. Let's place it down. You will see it's a paper. Why? Because it's on display creation. It must be a basic creation. Okay. So if I right click now, it will say you have clicked the block. Why, if I click it, it says that? Because the activator is player all click on, and the playerCommands it sends message. If we add on block commands, for example, break, it means if I right click it, the F will get broken. Let's remove this command. I press here and press the X, and that's it. For example, drop item, material quantity. Material, for example, bedrock quantity 1. Finish, save, back and save. And if I right click, a bedrock appears. Perfect. As you can see, we're creating interesting stuff with just explaining easy things. PlayerCommands and ownerCommands are the same, exactly the same. The only difference is that the ownerCommands are applied to the owner, and player commands are applied to the player who is triggering the activator. Okay? And the block commands is just commands that are applied to the block. Okay? I think it's easy to understand. For example, the block, I can drop an item from the block, drop executable block, the item, the ev item from the block. I can affect with a run command. If you don't know what these commands do, you can check the wiki. Around basically is a command that affects around people, around distance. If the message of the player affected is shown, and the commands that the players affected get. For example, with this, you can make, if you right click the block, around all the people except you gets damaged, for example. I don't know. Like everything, every command here is from the blog. I can, meaning cube is break, for example, in 3x3 areas. You can open a door, you can affect the nearest people, you can fertilizing cube, you can make it explode. I don't know, the command you will want to have. And player commands is commands for the player. You can make it burn, you can affect the item they are holding or an item in the helmet. If you set this to this specific slot, you can add a boss bar text above here. You can send a message. You can make the player to dash. For example, custom dash one. Custom dash one, if you check it on the wiki, you will see that it's the player gets dashed to a specific location. So, for example, custom dash one, and I need a specific coordinates. On vanilla Minecraft, you will do this to specific the coordinates that we are right now, but this doesn't work. Okay. What can we do? Well, I will show you two things that may be quite interesting. We can do player X, player Y, and player Z, and the fall damage false. We can make the player to dash above it. As you can see, I am making the player to dash to the coordinates of the X and Z the same, but the Y value 3 blocks above. What will happen if I click the block? I will get dashed to the certain location we set before. Perfect. But what if we, instead of dashing above me, I want to dash above the block? Well, instead of using player placeholders, you can use block placeholders. Everything here, every placeholder, everything you need is explained on the placeholder section of the wiki. Let's finish, save, and you will see now I dash against or above the block. I go to the block, go to the block, go to the block, go to the block, to the coordinates we set before. Perfect. Another idea, for example, I will remove the drop item on block commands. Is using custom dash 2. That if you take a look at the wiki, you will see it makes the player to dash away from the coordinate. So let's dash away from this block with a strength of 5. Let's test, and I will edit this message. Send message away. Let's see, finish, save, back and save. I will click it and away. As you can see, I get dashed away from the block. If we are on the ground, the dash will be weaker than if I am jumping, obviously. Well, let's break this, and let's see. You have many commands that you can change here. It's up to your purposes. I don't know what would you like to do. For example, you can damage the player. For example, an idea would be player walk on. I am trying to you to understand what the commands do and the activators. Player walk on, for example, is if the player walk on the F. And if let's remove the send message command, and I will remove the that command. I will add the damage one, where I will make the player to have damage if they walk above it. Damage 1. Let's finish, save. You can also change the block. I don't know, maybe a specific block that you would want. I will remove the title too. Here, titles, and let's remove this, save and save, and I will place it. Now if I am on survival, and I walk above it, I get damaged. Because the activator we set before is damage. And player walk on. Player walk on, damage. And if you can see, if I move here, I get a lot of knockback. You may not want this, but again, I suggest you to check the wiki because there is damage, no knockback. Let's change this to knockback. Finish, save, back and save. And you will see that the damage now is, ooh, I almost died, is without knockback. Let's give ourselves some help. Just because I don't want to die. I'm perfect. So that's the idea of the activators and the commands. I don't know, for example, projectile hit, and I want it gets triggered on the entity commands because normally the relation of this activator affects the entity of the arrow that hits the projectile. So you can do stuff. For example, let's think. You can. I know what we could do. I will remove all of this. Let's say I would want if a projectile hits this redstone lamp, some particles appears. Let's see what particle I would like to appear. For example, cloud in these coordinates. Okay, if you don't know how particle command works, it's also explained on the wiki. Okay, this particle will be shown up. So on breakable hit on blockCommands, I will add this command: execute in block world. This is everything I am writing here is explained on the wiki on the fact of the executable blocks, how to use vanilla command. Run particle Minecraft cloud on the coordinates of blocks X, block Y, and block Z with the offset of 111, speed of 0, and amount of particles 100. Let's see. Let's get a bow. And perfect. I hit it and some particles appears. I don't want the arrow to be shown. So I would like it to disappear on entity commands. I can kill. If you don't know this command exists, well, it's right here. Finish, save, back and save, and now I hit it and the arrow disappears. Perfect. So it's working as we want. Anyways, you can do whatever you want. I am just showing you ideas. I want you to understand how the activator works. So let's move to something basic. I will remove this and I will just add a message of send message. You have triggered the block, so I can show you or explain you the other features. You have player cooldown. How do this works? Or you can apply cooldown to the activators, so people can only do it with certain cooldown. For example, now if we place it down and I click it, you have triggered the block. By the way, if I hit it, if I break it, it will say you have triggered the block. And not only with right click. If you want that, instead of the activator player all click on, use player right click on. And let's save, back and save. And now if I break it, no message is shown, only if I right click it. Anyways, I can right click as many times as I want. And in this case, it's a message. It is not something so important, but it may be if the block is dropping diamonds, or it's giving the player effects, or I don't know, something important. So you may want the activator to have cooldown. How do you do it? With player cooldown options. If we press it here, you have the cooldown, that is the amount of cooldown. For example, 5 seconds normally. You can make this cooldown on ticks. Remember, 20 ticks is 1 second. So instead of seconds, for example, having 2.5 seconds, you can make it on ticks. So you can have those 2.5 seconds. Normally you can't. And 2.5 seconds would be 50 ticks, because 2 seconds is 40 ticks, and the half of a second is 10 ticks. Anyways, it's just if you want to work on ticks. If you disable this option, the cooldown is on seconds. If you want to display the cooldown message, and what is the cooldown message? You can change it. It's up to your purposes. And that's it. I will explain the cancel event then. Let's save this and let's test if this works. Save, back and save. And now if I right click, you have triggered the block. Perfect. But if I click it again, I was on cooldown of 1 second. I will insta click so you can see the cooldown is 5 seconds. You're on cooldown 5 seconds. Perfect. It works as expected. I can click it, but I have cooldown 3, 2, 1, and again the command is working. But what if you would like, I repeat, I will explain cancel event later. But what if you would like the cooldown to be on global? But I mean, let's say the block gives the player, remember, playerCommands, a stack of diamonds. I don't know, I don't have many ideas, but you would like this to be only be used one time with cooldown 1 day, for example. And if me trigger the block and get the stack of diamonds, someone can't do that. They will need to wait the same cooldown I have. Well, it's not more player cooldown. The cooldown is not per player, it's global. And it's the same idea. Since I don't have many players, I am just explaining you with words. It has the same stuff. I mean, the same features. The only difference is that instead of player, it's on global. Usage modification, I haven't explained the usage, so not for now. Required things, yeah, This is very easy to understand. If you want the activator to work only if you have certain things, for example, if you have required levels, required their experience, it's the same idea, but it's not the same level and experience. Required money, items, A, and mana. For example, let's create a OreConverter from iron ore, to diamond ore. Required item, let's add new, it will be iron ore, maybe. Okay, amount 1. And if you want it to be a specific executable item, in this case I don't want it, save. You can change the error message and cancel event again. I haven't explained this, but you will see that this repeats a lot. But keep calm, I will explain it later. Let's save, and save. You will see if I right click it, it says error, you don't have the required items. Well, let's get iron ore, and you will see each time I right click, an iron ore is removed. I have cooldown. Okay, perfect. And the command is you have triggered the block. But I don't want that. I said I want an OreConverter. What I will do, I will change the send message to you have converted the ore. And I will execute run give player diamond ore 1. Finish. Basically, it's just a vanilla command that gives the player the diamond ore. Save, and now I have 62. I click it, and 61, and the diamond ore with the message. I right click again and the same, but remember I have cooldown. And that's it. Explaining features, we are creating blocks, and that is the idea. I want you to understand what they are doing. Well, the required items, it's the same with the other features. I will remove this for better testing purposes. How do I remove it? With Shift and click. Let's save and save. And now the OR is not required anymore. Perfect. Let's go here, and variables. I haven't explained the variables. Remember, it is here. It's the last things I will explain because they may be the harder ones. I will drink water. Wait a moment. Perfect. Okay. We have cancel event again here. As I said, not this time. Let's move on to the last part, almost the last part of features. And here we have only conditions. Conditions, and more conditions. What are these? Well, the same idea we did with requiredThings, well, where you can think of it as a condition because if the player has the item, the activator or the commands will work. Yes, it's a condition, perfect. But the difference between requiredThings and these ones is that this is actually very specific. You can change it a lot. You can customize it a lot. That's why this place is a lot better. For example, block conditions you can make. Only if the block is natural, this will work. Only if the container, for example, chest, is not empty, the activator will work. Only if certain locations, only if the block are rounds. For example, the block needs a golden ore below it to work. That's the idea of block around conditions. If it's powered by redstone, let's move on to player conditions. If the player is sprinting, for example, That's a good idea, because if we also have hypnotic sprinting. Do you remember the block we created that makes damage to the player? We can make it that it only applies damage if the player is sprinting. That means you can walk over there, over the block, if you are not sprinting, because if it's sprinting, the activator will work and the player will get damage. If the player is flying, depending on the cursor distance, if it's stunned, you have more options here. If the player has certain effect, if it's on the block, if it has permissions, you have more conditions. If it has items, if it has executable items. Anyways, conditions, and conditions. You have the work conditions depending on the time, on the weather, the owner conditions. For example, you can only use it if the owner has certain conditions. And maybe the most powerful ones, the placeholder conditions. Here we can use placeholders. For example, you would need to use PAPI. I don't know if you know it, placeholder API, where you have many placeholders that you would want it to play with. For example, player health, and you can parse these as a conditions. Only if the player health is below certain value, this activator will work. For example, a block that regains you health only if you are below 2 hertz. Or let's see, you have many placeholders to work with. Only if the player directions is west, this activator will work. Remember, you have many placeholders. You also have RNG placeholders. For example, you can make conditions here as random, like 1/4 times you click it. This will work because each time you trigger the block, the placeholders will reload of RNG. That is a placeholder that returns a random number between 1 and 4. In this case, I created it in front of you. And it must be equals to 1. For example, player number, RNG 1 and 4 must be equals to 1. Otherwise, didn't match. This message will be for the owner. If you want it for the target, the one who is clicking it, well, add it here. And cancel event again, I haven't explained it, but don't worry. Let's go here. I will remove the cooldown to 0 with 0, save, and save. And you will see that sometimes it gives us the diamond ore. I will show you that I am clicking on it, sending a message if it doesn't work, message if not valid, and didn't work. Save back and save. Didn't work. Oh, my look is not the best. Okay, that worked. Okay, I am spamming, and sometimes it works and sometimes don't. Why? Because on the conditions of the activator that works in each time I right click, we added a placeholder of RNG that gets refreshed each time we trigger the activator, and each time that placeholder will return different values between 1 and 4. For example, you right click, the placeholder returns 2. It is the same than 1? No, so the activator will not work. I will not get a diamond ore. The next time I trigger the activator, well, maybe this placeholder will be 3. It is the same than 1? Okay, doesn't work. The next time I trigger this activator, the placeholder may be 1. It is the same than 1? Yes. So that means the condition is matched and all these commands will work. Perfect. You can, for example, use player string, where, for example, the player name must be equals to Pepito. And if it is not equals to Pepito, well, the activator will not work. For example, to create stuff for certain players or player target, if the player name is equals than the owner. So this activator can only be used by the owner. That may be useful too. And that's it. If you don't want to have placeholders, just remove it with G and click. Let's back, and that's it. Those are the conditions. Stuff that you add when you want the activator to only work by certain conditions. You have the normal conditions here, you have the owner ones, and you can use certain placeholders or depending on what you want. Almost every advanced plugin has placeholders on placeholder API, so you can use them. Just a tip: if you use player number, the placeholders will be parsed to the player who is the owner of the block. So, for example, if we use player health here, inferior than 10, well, this activator will only work if the player health of the owner is inferior than 10. Why the owner? Because the type of placeholder condition is player number. If you want it to be or to work with the player who is triggering the activator, you have to use target number, because we're parsing the placeholder to the target, that is the player who is triggering the activator, and to a number. If we want to compare it to a string, for example, we can use inferior because it doesn't make any sense, because this 10 is not anymore a number, it's a string. And that's it. There are many examples of placeholders conditions in the wiki. Okay, and the last feature is silenceOutput. It silences some of the commands. For example, some vanilla commands that have some output in the console, or some plugin commands. It just silences stuff on the console. For example, the title command, I don't know if you know it, the title by time is 2020, for example, title text hi. For example, this command normally has an output on the console, something like a title has been shown to the player, something like that. Well, you can remove that output, and that's it. Now let's explain cancelEvent. Then we will explain usage, and the last one we will explain variables. So, what is cancelEvent? To understand this, we have to know what is the event. Well, when you trigger the activator, an event is related. For example, if you right click, well, the event is right click. If you jump, the event is jump. If you walk, the event is jump. Is walk, sorry. If the crop grows, the event is crop grow, etc. If you cancel this event, it means that the event will not be listened by the server. What does that mean? Let's create player right click activator. I will remove this one, and I will only add a message of click it, so we can know when we are clicking it. No conditions, perfect. No cooldown, perfect. Okay. And that's it. It's just a normal activator of right click, and the material will be chest. Let's open it, and you will see it says click it. Why? Because when I right click it to open the chest, the command is also printed, the player command. But if I cancel the event, the right click activator that is related to the right click event will be cancelled. So if we save this and we right click, the chest is not being opened. Why? Because I am not right clicking the chest. At least the server thinks that I am not doing that. You can see I am right clicking it, but since we set to cancel event, the event is being cancelled. This is very useful actually. For example, you can cancel the event only if the player name is different than owner. So it's just an idea. So I will remove this. I told you the idea. I want you to understand what will happen now. If the player is different than the owner, the event will be cancelled. So only the owner will be able to open this. That's the idea. And it works. I will cancel event, and it works with many things. For example, player walk on. I don't suggest you to activate cancel event with player walk on. But I don't know, it's up to your purposes. Let's place it so I can show you it cancels the event. As you can see, I am like walking laggy. That's it. That's the idea of cancel event. What can we do more? For example, if the player breaks, it doesn't happen. Actually, let's see. And it keeps there because the event is not happening. Okay, that's it. That's cancel event. Why did I leave it as the last option to explain? Well, because you have cancel event on almost everything. You can cancel the event if the player is on cooldown. If it's on global cooldown, you can cancel the event if the placeholder conditions doesn't match. You can cancel the event if the player conditions doesn't match. If any conditions you add, you can cancel the event. You can cancel the event if you add a required stuff and it doesn't match. Cancel event. You can cancel the event almost on everything. And again, it's up to your purposes. I don't know what you want to create. I can't read your mind. I am just giving you the features needed that you would need to create what you want. And that is cancel event. Once we are done, you can delete the activator. Now let's explain the two last features: usage and variables. The first one is usage, and I want you to understand the usage as the durability of the block. What does that mean? Let's create a player right-click activator that will send a message, boom, and will give the player TNT. Perfect. You may think this is a broken block. So you would want, after 5-10 TNTs given, the block disappears. Okay, So what are we going to do? Usage, as I said, is the durability of the block. We're going to set usage to 5, and we're going to modify the usage by -1. What does that mean? If we click 5 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see, maybe I did something wrong, my bad. Usage 5, okay, I know why it didn't work. Because I have to, sorry, my bad, usageModification -1, yeah. I have to take it from here. I can't use it, the one that is placed. Okay. F2. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it disappears. Why it didn't work with the item that I was holding before, and it worked when I give it to myself? Because I will explain you why. The activator reduces the usage, yes, but the usage of the block I had before was -1. So what was happening is the activator was being triggered, and the usage now was being -2, -3, -4, and that means it will not get deleted. But if I set it to 5 and I give it to myself again, once we trigger, the usage will go from 5 to 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. Once it reaches 0, the block is gone. The block disappears. If you want the block not to disappear, just to set the usage to -1 or set it to 0, but all the activators must have the usage modification to 0. Let's add on as title features the usage, so we can see how many usage it has. Let's see, and it has 5. I click 4, 3, 2, 1, and gone. Perfect. I will add now another activator of player left click on that will increase usage modification by 1 because it doesn't have negative values. What will happen now? Let's take the block, let's place it 5. Right click, right click, right click. Now let's left click. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so on. So each time I left click, it increases the usage because each left click means modifying the usage by 1, and each right click decreasing the usage by -1. That's it. I will give you some ideas. For example, as you saw, if I left click, I can left click until the infinite number. We can do that. I can only left click activator, where we are increasing the usage only if the usage is inferior than 10. So for example, if I click it now, it doesn't increase. Why? Because the usage is superior than I set it to 10. No? Yes, so 10. That means the activator is not being triggered. I will right click, I will left click, nothing happens. I will right click, left click, nothing happens. Right click, left click, and it happens. Why? Because the 9 was inferior than 10, so the activator worked. As I said, I will show you the usage inferior than 10, so the activator works. And if the activator works, the usage modification works. And that's it. Now we have created a reusable TNT generator? I don't know. Just ideas. That's the idea of usage, is durability that can be modified by the activators with increasing values or decreasing values. If usage reaches 0, the block is gone. And that's it. Let's set this to -1. And the last thing I want you to show you, that, by the way, is actually the last thing, because I was planning on creating blocks at the end of the tutorial, but I just realized that I have created many blocks in the long way of this tutorial, so it is not necessary. So the last thing is variables. What are variables? Variables are information that is stored inside the block and is different for every block. For example, we can store some information. How does this work? Well, let's create a variable. Let's add a name, and before it, we need an idea. What will this variable do? It will be just a counter of clicks. That is the name of our variable. It can be a string variable, a list variables, or a number. Number is the easiest one, so let's work with this. And because that is the one I need, I will counter, just the amount of clicks I am doing. So I have to increase it. You can increase a string, you can't increase a list. You need it to be a number and the number of value. Okay, it is 0. Let's save, back, and on title, instead of showing the usage, I will show the variable. How? With bar counter clicks. Let's add a color and let's finish, save, and save. If I place it, the variable is 0. Perfect. Now I will delete this. If we jump above it, just a random activator, player jump on. What we will do, we will modificate this variable. It's the same idea than usage, but with variables. Variables, new, the variable name was counter of clicks. We will modify it to 1. So we are modifying the variable by 1. Save, back, and save, and you will see each time I jump, it increases. 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect. It works. Perfect. Now if I right click it, for example, I will set this variable, the variable called counter of clicks, set to 0, so I can reset it. And I will send a message that says reset, finish, save, back, and save. So I jump, I click it and says reset. And the variable gets reset. Perfect, it works. Well, and then I will upload after this video, after this tutorial, the example of the block with a complicated variable. We will create a diamond generator that each second or a custom time that you would like, the block stores a specific diamond. It can be changed to whatever you want. I am just telling you the idea. You can change it up to your purposes. Each second it stores diamonds up to a limit. It has a cap. And once you right click, you get all the diamonds stored and it starts again. That can be done with variables. That's it. I hope you like it. I hope you understand how to use the plugin. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Always use the wiki. Check the Discord. If it didn't understood something, you can check this video again on the certain part. I will add timestamp for every feature. And if that didn't work, well, you always have us to ask if you didn't understand something with the things you have, this video, the wiki, and the send yourself. So it's free to ask. Hope you like it, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.